Hi friends, welcome back to the Patreon and welcome to another bonus video, but also another Q&A. This is part 2 of the last one. I'm sorry I'm not doing a cocktail in this one. When I did it in the last video, I was like, oh, this is gonna be boring, but it was actually quite entertaining when I watched it back in the edit. If you haven't watched part 1, go watch that. But unfortunately, it's 10 a.m, so I'm not gonna drink a cocktail. So I'm sorry about that, but these questions are a lot more juicy than the last one, so I think it kind of evens out entertainment wise. So let's jump straight in. We're gonna start with a bang. This question I was really scared to answer. It says, which patron do you wanna chill with the most? This is hard. I have met so many of you. I've met people in Sweden, I've met people in America, I've met people in Australia, like over east and here. When I meet you, it's seriously the joy it brings me. I've never had a bad experience meeting a patron. We are quite a tight-knit community, and a lot of you guys who I've spoken to on the Discord and all the kind of chats throughout the years, it's just been a pleasure. It's hard to narrow down one person. To be able to have to choose between people, I just don't like that. I'm not really about that. But I do have an answer for you. Which patron do you want to chill with the most? Some of you may know Dave Barnes, who was part of the Patreon for years, and he passed away last year in April, and you know, I'm always going to regret not being able to meet him before that happened. So there's an answer, a little bit of a cop-out, but there's an answer. I always think about Dave, and to be completely, I'm not going to cry, but to be completely frank with you, sometimes I still talk to him on the chat we had, like the DM back and forth. I don't know if it's going through to anyone on his side, and I mean that as in on his computer or anything like that, but it's, yeah, I would have loved to hang out with Dave. Okay, now on to some more spicy questions. How do you feel about smaller YouTube channels referencing you or your videos? And this is what they said to explain that. Nice shout outs or trying to ride your coattails. To be clear, I'm talking about you and or your content, not stealing your content. I mean, if anyone's going to talk about me, that's so nice. I don't think that's riding coattails if they're talking about me. I think stealing content would be riding my coattails. But no, I can't see that would ever be a negative thing at all. Or like, I don't know, like, you know, I don't think that there's any coattails to really ride. Like, I don't think mentioning me in a video is going to do anything for anybody. But I do appreciate it. I love when I hear shout outs. I actually remember the first time I was ever shouted out in a video and I like lost my mind. I think I had like 10 subscribers and I just thought it was the most amazing thing. And I love when people tell me some random channel that I don't know of, or, you know, someone I do know of spoke about me. Like I remember when Spooky Rice like mentioned my name. Things like that I love, absolutely love that, and I think that's really cool and very much enjoy it. So, I mean, obviously they're bigger creators, but smaller creators as well. I love when people mention me. I think it's awesome and so nice, and yeah, I can't see a negative thing about it. Stealing content is another story completely, but you're not talking about that. If someone was to give you $2 million and say, go make a great movie, can you do it within those Can you do this within those perimeters? I think so. If you think about it, Blair Witch was made on 16 to 20K. People always change the amount. But I also think it depends on what kind of movie. You have to be smart with it, smart with your budget. And I think just really, it's not really about the budget overall. Of course, that comes into play, and it also comes into play with who's going to watch it, because a lot of people just won't watch lower budget films, but 2 million is a pretty good chunk of change. And also I think a lot of it just goes into planning. I have done a lot of work for non-for-profits, and I know obviously that's like non-for-profits, a lot of people give time and money and time and locations and stuff like that for shoots, for like photography and stuff like that. And I just know if you ask favors, or if you you know, offer people end screen credits, or you can wiggle your way into some really good locations for people who want to be involved and want to help out with a small project. But I think the most important thing is paying everyone really well who's on the cast and the crew, because that's what matters, not just the production but the pre-production. I think spending more time on pre-production for horror movies is a must. I love obviously atmosphere and stylization, but I think a lot of the message sometimes gets left on the cutting room floor or in the scripts and and doesn't get transferred well. So I think if I did a horror movie, I would spend like maybe a couple of years really doing the pre-production, rewriting, editing, and making sure everything was as tight as possible. So when you go and film, you're not using so much of that budget on, you know, location and time and stuff. You've really planned it out to a T, so you know exactly what you're trying to achieve and how to get it. Obviously, it's never going to be exactly what you want because things change, but yeah. Did I answer your question? Yes, I think you can do it, definitely with 2 mil, but I think a lot of it needs to be in planning and preparation, and you need to have a solid script, and then I think, yeah, you'll have a good chance. First off, love you. If the internet didn't exist, how would you share your love for horror and film, or would you even bother? In other words, what if this wonderful platform disappeared? Good question. I mean, somehow in the world I survived before without it. It would be weird. I always think about how strange it is for me because I don't really have a social media for myself personally, like other than horror. I mean, obviously I share lots of different stuff on Instagram, but I don't really have like a personal place that I don't know, that I just have out my personal feelings. I've really separated that. I mean, opinions on horrors, of course, but like just personal other shit, I don't always talk about on social media. So I always think it would be very interesting if I didn't have the spooky astronaut stuff and I had my own personal social media. Like, it's very strange for me to think about. But you know, I survived before without it. I survived up until I was like 21, 22 without it. And yeah, I think that I would just have a lot of freaking time on my hands. If it didn't exist, yeah, I probably wouldn't share it because there's nowhere else that I would share it. I'm not really a writer, so it's not like I would want to write for like magazines or papers or anything like that. But if the platform didn't exist, I guess I would just chuck myself more into actually working on short films, not my own, but just other people's editing and stuff. But I just don't have the time to do that. But I would love to do that. I did continuity and editing on short films before, so maybe do something like that where I'm on a set for some of it for continuity, and then I'm like involved in the process somehow. But I would just always just watch horror movies by myself. It would be really sad though, not having the community. But if the platform disappeared, and you always have to be kind of ready for that as someone who relies on it, I would just have to go back to working more at my day job and just keeping more of my opinions to myself. What drew you into horror? I was always looking, I'm sure people have heard this story before, but with film, when I was getting into film, I was always obsessed with, you know, breaking the rules, the boundaries, pushing the line, pushing the envelope, you know, just really thinking about psychologically how they tell a story, why they tell that, and how it affects you. And then it just kind of led to horror because horror is the most extreme genre. And I think that I really like that extreme feeling of really pushing the boundaries and really taking it further than you're meant to. I love the taboo nature of horror. So that's what drew me to it, to be honest. It wasn't really horror itself or a slasher or anything like that I saw when I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I was just looking into disturbing film, and I was into disturbing film before I was really into horror, to be honest. And it just, I mean, I was always watching horrors and stuff when I was a teenager, but it really got me into loving the craft of filmmaking because of the psychological element. I hope that makes sense. How did you come to adopt Gromit? Did you want a greyhound? Why did you adopt? I did want a greyhound. I wanted a greyhound for years. We live in an apartment. Greyhounds are perfect apartment dogs, and obviously greyhounds, you may not know this, but greyhounds really, they don't breed them for anything else but to race. So when you adopt a greyhound or when you get a greyhound, it's usually an ex-racer, which Gromit is. I've always been into the idea of adopting, like, you know, there's so many dogs that need homes, and I love dogs. I always grew up with big dogs, Rottweilers, Ridgebacks, all that kind of stuff. So I always wanted a big dog, and yeah, we had an apartment. We were trying to think of what a good big dog is for an apartment. Greyhounds sleep like 16 to 18 hours a day. So yeah, it was just like the perfect opportunity. I'm looking down at Gromit now. It was the perfect fit. And I, just very much believe in adopting because there's just so many sad stories and so many dogs out there. And I wish I could get more. Like, I would get a ton of greyhounds if I had more space, but Gromit is definitely an only child. Have you ever watched the classic Scooby-Doo cartoons? Yes, I watched them all the time as kids. Do you have any new tattoos planned? I don't, but I really do want to get it's unfortunate because I don't really like this guy as a person. I shouldn't say that out loud. But this guy who tattooed this, I love this tattoo so much. The skull, sorry, it's upside down, but I'm gonna get him to do another tattoo for sure because I really love this style, and I've just got to start filling this up a little bit more. I really want to get a devil tattoo, but I'm trying to figure out the best look for that because there's so many different ways you can do a devil, and I like more of like an old school traditional style, obviously you can probably see by like my other tattoos. And when they have the old school like devil or like Satan, I don't know, I'm just not really 100% on it, and then I'm not 100% on like the little cutesy devils. So I'm just trying to figure out the right devil because I don't want it to look too masculine. Like I don't want it to have like a beard and like a mustache like a lot of the devils in the old school kind of way do. So I'm trying to figure out what my favorite kind of devil, maybe it would be a shadow of a devil or something like that. I need to figure that out. And also, the same guy who did that tattoo, he recently did a tattoo of, I think it's like a skull coming out of a bear or some animal, panther. And I thought, oh, that'd be cool to get a wolf because I do have a bear, but I'd love to get a wolf because my last name is Wolf. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get more tattoos by this guy. But I don't have any planned. Song you have been jamming all month along on repeat. I think you mean like a song that I've been listening to all month. I've been listening to a lot of old school Sufjan Stevens, which is kind of sad. Actually, I do have an answer. The song that I've been loving lately, it's by LCD Sound System. I never listened to them before, but it's called New York, I Love You, But You're Bringing Me Down. I freaking love that song. I listen to it all the time. It's like the perfect mix of depression and energy. I don't know, like I just love that song. If you haven't heard it and you're into kind of like Arcade Fire, like alternative music that is really driven by lyrics, because I'm very much like a lyrics person, definitely listen to that one. It's really, really good. What was the first horror movie you ever recall watching? Second, do you really like ketchup? Ketchup is called tomato sauce here. I absolutely love it. And the first horror movie that I recall watching, I think, was Leprechaun. I think I was at a friend's house and I remember like there's like a car door scene where his finger gets chopped off, I think. And yeah, I remember seeing that. But it was just in kind of passing. But full horror movie, yeah, it's hard to know. Maybe like The Sixth Sense or Blair Witch. Blair Witch was pretty like where I remember where I was living at the time. That's probably the one I remember the most. I would say Mars Attacks, because I remember seeing that in the cinema and being so fucking scared, but it's obviously not a horror movie, but I thought it was. Not really personal, Emma. Just wondering how you deal with burnout. Watching movies as a job sounds great on the surface, but there are so many bad ones. I think that this means knowing that you have to watch every horror movie must get difficult. There are so many bad ones. Do you ever just throw your hands up and say, I can't do this anymore? I mean, I did that a long time ago. I only really put myself through it for 12 Days of Horror or 31 Days of Horror or 13 Days of Horror. I'm sorry, 12 Days of Christmas, where it's viewer's choice. But I don't watch anything if I don't want to watch it anymore. I think that's ridiculous. So many people message me and say, hey, you should check out this movie. It was awful. I can't wait to hear what you think. I'm like, I'm not going to watch it now. Yeah, I mean, I watch as much as you guys as well, because a lot of you watch so many horror movies. But yeah, I definitely say I'm not watching this. I do have a problem though when I start watching a movie, and no matter how horrible it is, having to watch it to the end so I can put on my letterbox so I can talk about it later. And then also the thing that really gets me is more when I'm trying to do like a hidden gems video, or I'm trying to find the similar videos, or I'm doing a recommendations video where I have to find a particular type of movie, or in the hidden gems, find a good movie that people haven't spoken about too much. I watch so many shit movies for that one video, and sometimes you're like, is it worth, 10 hours of crap movies to get through for one, 10-minute video? But I do it anyway because it's really cool to find things that other people haven't spoken about, or that's not oversaturated. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it does get exhausting, but at the end of the day, so does most jobs have, bad parts or parts you don't really enjoy. But when you find a good gem, it's all worth it for me anyway. Do you feel a particular sense of pride over Australian movies, and or are you more likely to enjoy an Australian film? No, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so at all. I think I get joy out of, especially when I'm looking forward to a movie, if I know, like, if there's an actress or actor in it, or a director that I really like, if it's, like, you know, got Mark Duplass in it, like, that's the same kind of joy I feel. But Australian, no, I feel like I give it a, you know, I give Australian film a fair chance, but there's a lot of horror movies I don't like here because, like, the kind of, like, Wormwood thing where it's, like, this action kind of horror, I'm not really into that. So, yeah, it gets exciting when there's, like, one film that is an Australian movie, like Lake Mungo, and everyone talks about it all the time. That is exciting, but I don't think it outweighs, like, anything else. I do feel a lot of pride when people watch something that's really authentically Australian. So I've spoken about a couple of times Wentworth, which is one of my favorite TV shows. It's about a women's prison and it's very authentic. So yeah, I guess I get proud about that, and yeah, proud when people, more like, I guess maybe Australian actors as well. Like, a lot of people don't realize how many actresses they watch that are Australian. So, or actors. So yeah, I get excited about that. Okay, a couple left. Why do you have beef with microwaves? Do they not heat things? I'm not sure if this is from Ali. Ali is one of my friends who I talk to all the time on the Discord. She, I'm gonna put you on blast here. She, like many other Americans, I'm just saying some Americans, I should say, heats up her tea, her water for her tea in the microwave. It's a very American thing to do, but in Australia we use kettles, and in the UK they use kettles, so it's just more of a faux pas for anyone who drinks tea. So no, I don't hate it. I also don't own a microwave as well, but that's just because we don't have enough space. Like, that's my whole kitchen. And you know, what's kind of ironic is that's where the microwave's meant to go, and instead we just have all of our tea in there. So that's pretty funny. What's the scariest animal in Australia? I'm not scared of, like, snakes or spiders. Totally fine by me. I don't actually understand why people get so worked up. I know it's a legitimate fear, but, they're not gonna do anything. Scared of animals. You know what? No, it's not an Australian animal. I'm trying to think of an Australian animal that's actually scary. I mean, like, crocodiles are pretty scary. Anything scary that's, like, you know, you come up against them in the wild, but I'm not, like, sitting in my house shaking. I think that it's a very much, like, overdone stereotype that Australia has all these creepy crawly, you know, things that come get you in the middle of the night. So many people said to me, I don't want to come to Australia because of the bugs. I'm like, I've been to so many countries where I see a lot more spiders. I don't know. Like, it is ridiculous, and it's totally, like, an overdone, stereotype of it. Just like when you find a spider in your house, like, when was the last time you saw a spider in your house? Australia does have a lot of deadly animals, but it's not like they're gonna actually attack you, if that makes sense. They're more deadly because of, like, how much poison they contain or what they can do and how powerful they could be, but it's very rare that there's, like, an incident. There's more shark attacks and things like that in America than Australia, and sharks are the number one thing people are really actually scared of here. But in saying that, with Australia and animals, the bonus, there's, like, a two sides to this coin. Not only does Australia have all these deadly, you know, spiders and snakes and stuff, on the other side, we have the most amazing animals that you can't find anywhere else in the world. You've got Tasmanian devils, we've got wombats, we've got echidnas, we've got platypus, we've got, koalas, we got kangaroos, we've got quolls, we've got everything. Bilbies. We have so many cool animals, and it is totally worth it. We have so many, the birds here, we got cockatoos, we got galahs, we got rainbow lorikeets, we got emus, we got cassowaries. We have so many cool animals that you can't find anywhere else on the earth, and it's really worth the trade-off because it would amaze you. That was a long answer. Name 5 reasons Birdemic is the best film ever, from So Anonymous You'll Never Be Able to Guess. Obviously, this is Liam. I don't actually know why you asked this, Liam, because I never said it was the best movie ever. That's not really the questions I was after. Liam loves this movie called Birdemic, which is just a really shitty C-grade, Z-grade movie. And it was fun to watch. We watched it with a bunch of friends on one of the hangout nights for tier 3. And yeah, I really enjoyed watching it with you guys. And I think, you know, number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 reasons that Birdemic is the best film ever is because it's just so fun to watch with other people. Thank you for all the time and effort. It's been lovely watching the channel grow. Many, many thank yous. Thank you so much. That's very sweet of you. yeah, it's been really lovely getting to know everyone in the community. I actually have an idea. Let me know if you want to see this for like top tips of like getting on YouTube and being able to deal with it, because I think this probably goes back to the burnout. I've started writing down some tips that I have that I wish people would have told me that really improve my experience here online, especially when it comes to trolls and stuff. So let me know if you want to see that. What is the most disturbing horror film you have seen that you would actually recommend? Serbian film. Don't at me. So many people get so mad about that film. Every day I get like hate comments about it. Someone said the other day, why would you recommend a snuff film? I'm like, it's not a snuff film. Yeah, I guess that, or like Martyrs is very disturbing. And someone actually once inboxed me and was going off at me for recommending Martyrs and said like, you've traumatized me, you know, blah, blah. And I actually, in the recommendation video that they pointed to, I watched it back and I said, just so you know, this is a really traumatic video. It's very disturbing. It's about her trauma. And in the DM that the person sent me, they were saying, you didn't explain properly what it was about, so how would I know? And I'm like, babe, I'm not here to spoil the film and then traumatize you. I'm just here to traumatize you. Yeah, so I think those are probably disturbing. Nothing that you probably wouldn't have heard of, but yeah, those are, I would say, the most disturbing. Or Oldboy is pretty disturbing. I love Oldboy. I like some sick movies, I think. And those are horror. I'm trying to think of just horror movies. Well, I guess, is the Serbian film horror movie? Maybe not. I don't know. I hate doing the whole genre thing because it gets so messy when people say, well, this isn't a horror movie, but this is, because everyone's definition is very different. A lot of people say that like some slasher movies aren't horror movie. Maybe I shouldn't have touched that. But yes, horror movie, I would say, let's just say Martyrs, because that's easy to, that is definitely a horror. And my last question is, why, Emma, why? And the answer is, because I can. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another Q&A. Next week, we'll get back into some more spoiler conversations. I'm thinking about going to see Halloween and maybe taking you guys along with me because I still haven't seen it. And I think it might be a bit too late to include a video on my main channel. So, yeah, I thought that maybe we could do that together. And then also I'll be doing a lot of spoiler chat, chit chat, all that, because I love doing those videos, and you guys seem to really like them when I watch a movie and then give you just kind of like a come chill with me, but the ending and more spoilers, like a spoiler conversation. I think you guys seem to enjoy those as well, more of the laid back ones. So I'll be doing a lot more of them. If you ever have a suggestion for a bonus video, please let me know down below. Thank you so much for being here and supporting me. It really does mean a lot to me and my channel, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. And thank you so much for supporting me and keeping my channel going. Not only financially, but also because of your actual support. It means a lot to me. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay spooky. Bye, friends.